Good morning. My name is Sebastian Serrano-Avelar, and I'll be presenting to you my final project for psychology, and I'll be presenting the five personality traits. So, what exactly is the five personality traits? It's a tool to evaluate personality. It's used by professional psychologists in certain evaluations, such as one-on-one mentoring, counseling, or any other situation someone may need. It is split up into five categories, which includes the openness to experience, neuroticism, extroversion, conciseness, and agreeableness. So I'd like to share a resource that I found online that analyzes your five personalities and gives you a score based on how strong each of these traits are. For example, I got a 52% on openness. For conscientiousness, I got a 75%, and so on and so forth. I'll be individually explaining these as we go on. The first one is the openness to experience. The definition is your ability to try new things and think with your imagination. Or this can just be thinking outside the box or like your creativity. On the high end, someone may be creative, artistic, and crave their independence. Someone on the low end may be introverted, more talkative to themselves, have a stick routine and tries to stick to it, and they're not comfortable to change. As for this scale, I scored around a 52%, which means I have traits of both low end and high end. As for real life connections, someone with a high openness to experience typically will have more creativity, innovation, whether that be in the workplace or their personal life. They may be more open about their political values as a result of their openness. In relationships, they may have more success than others compared to the low end since they're often more talkative on any issues that they might want to address, and they just feel less lonely overall as a result of that openness. Conciseness is a definition of the ability for a person to regulate their impulses for goals. Someone on the high end may be more organized, disciplined, and detail-oriented, as someone on the low end typically has more difficulty with goal setting and task completion. In other words, conciseness just means like your ability to set goals and like stay to a consistent schedule. For me, I have the 75%, which means that I'm typically more on the high end, which may indicate that I have more organized skills compared to someone who's on the low end. And I think this is true for myself since I typically am the person to study and take notes and stick to a routine. For real life connections, someone who has a high level of conscientiousness will have higher job performance, better health outcomes as a result of their organized schedule. They may have higher academic success and stability. Agreeableness is the treatment of relationship with others. It just means on how you interact with other people and see how you treat emotions. Someone on the high end will be more soft-hearted, trustworthy, and well-liked as a result of their ability to understand others, while someone on the low end may be more suspicious of others. They may have manipulative behaviors as a result of their negligence towards emotions, and they just may be uncooperative to other people. I scored around 83%, which means that I typically have more high end, and I can say this for myself as well, since I typically try to talk one-on-one with other people and be considerate of their emotions. Someone who has a high level of agreeableness may have better workplace success as a result of their ability to talk to their coworkers. They may have better health as a result of those positive emotions and communications. They may have better relationships as a result of that and better community engagement. Extroversion is the level of intensity someone may interact with their environment, but specifically it's social. It's typically just like an extroverted scale and an introverted scale. Someone on the low end may just be introverted, which means they're reserved, quiet, and they listen more than talk. Someone on the high end may be assertive, fun, sociable, and more outgoing rather than quiet. For real life connections, typically someone with the higher end has strong leadership skills, less loneliness, and better listening skills. But for listening skills, it's typically for the lower end since they tend to stay more quiet. But I do want to point out that for my scale, I got a 52%, but I sort of disagree with that because I have strong leadership at my high school. For neuroticism, it is overall emotional stability and the perception of their surroundings. So it's sort of how you view the world and treat yourself specifically. So on the high end, someone may be more anxious about themselves. They may be more insecure and pity themselves even more. As someone on the low end typically will be calm, secure, and self-satisfied. They might not worry about the future as much as compared to someone with high end. I can say for a fact that I do have a 73% score as a result of my overthinking anxiety. I feel like I overthink a lot of issues. As a result, someone with a higher score will have larger health risks, loneliness, and dissatisfaction as a result of their overthinking. This may lead to like people being withdrawn out of relationships, friendships, and other situationships they may experience. All right. So as for connections, I noticed within our psychology textbook, this falls along the lines of cognitive psychology, which is just a type of psychologists study, which just revolves their day-to-day interactions with the humans. But I also want to reflect on your day-to-day instances and interactions on how well they follow within this quiz. If you were to take it, I want you to compare with each of those results and see, like, oh, does this follow which personality trait? Like, is this accurate or not? So the reason why I selected this is that I feel like it could be pretty relevant within my life specifically. I use the 16 personalities quiz, which is a quiz similar to this, but it analyzes personality types based on 4 scales and it categorizes you based on those. I use it for professional development such as leadership, so I analyze all of our teams since it falls under 4 categories, and from there I paired our team members with corresponding members of the same and different just to get a feel of how we may learn from each other based on our strengths and weaknesses. But I want you to use this as a tool of evaluation within your life as if you can, because this can be extremely useful with team development slash hiring, as is one that I used before, but I'm sure that other job places may use this. But I want you to take it with consideration. Not all of this may be true. As you've seen with my leadership skills, I reflected sort of in the medium balance, but I believe that my score could have been personally higher. But I also want you to be considerate of how certain situations require certain traits. Let's say if you're at a funeral, you would typically want to have a more introverted skill rather than an extroverted skill because it is a time of mourning, so you typically don't want to be loud and obnoxious. But just know that this is a quiz at the end of the day. It may not affect the whole personality that you may have, but it can be a starting point to see on how you can better yourself. Thank you guys for listening to my video. Have an amazing day.